Hey, I'm Brian Van, SportBikeTrackGear.com. Today we're going to break down the Norton Racing soft pull throttle return spring install on our STG Yamaha R7 project bike. Soft pull throttle spring, what's that for, man? Well, if you're riding your bike on the track, anything you can do to reduce the amount of effort you have to use to say stop, like kick-ass brake pads, rotors, and a master, or even having a shorter turn throttle, or better yet, a softer return spring. Just makes it easier to twist that grip, requires less effort. It moves you forward, it's a good thing. It makes it easier to ride the bike faster. Who is this right for? This is going to be a modification that is best suited for the racetrack. I'd go as far as to say this one is a race-only part. Installation of this requires some precision, okay? This is your throttle. If you do something wrong and your throttle sticks, imagine sticking wide open, you're going into a corner. That's very bad. It's no good, okay? If anything you see in this video, you're like, not comfortable with that, dude, and you still want to get it done, take it to a licensed technician. They'll be able to get you sorted out and keep you safe. Stay tuned next for the install. We're going to begin this install by removing our bodywork. This could be a little bit different than your bike. Our bike has been completed to track use only. There's a strong possibility if you're installing this Norton soft pull throttle spring like we are, your bike is also a track only bike. We used armor bodies on this kit, full install video on that, so if you want to go and take a look, that is on our build page for the bike. It's also on the product listing for the armor bodies Yamaha R7 race bodywork kit. Graphics done by my man Reese Briotti at REB Graphics. The bike looks sick. Odds are, if you're intended to tackle this throttle spring install on your own, you probably know how to do your body work, but we're going to show it anyways. Looking forward to the next outing on this bike. That's going to be a couple weeks for me. Grattan Raceway, local track with my friends from Sportbike Track Time. Have a couple of new pieces installed before we get there. Fun bike to ride, you know, it's not quite the power output I'm used to. So it's a lot different. I don't get a chance to really ride that much anymore. But I gotta tell you, the time I spent on it at Barber, I enjoyed it. Every time we post a video on this, one of the questions we get is Max going to be racing this next year? And the answer to that is, I don't think so. I'm trying to sort out a deal to get the kid on a super sport bike for next year. And hopefully we're able to get that all put together for him. And we'll just kind of skip right over the twins class. That'll allow Max to maybe put on a couple of pounds that he's been working really hard to keep off. Make his life a little easier. Okay, let's go ahead and get this party started. You know it's serious when I've got my glasses on. Welcome to being old. We're going to take our throttle apart. I want to make sure that we've got plenty of slack in the throttle cables down there at our throttle body. These are 3mm internal hex fasteners. Remove the fasteners. Go ahead and push this rubber boot. This is still the OEM throttle on this bike. Over, and then the two halves of the throttle housing will slide right off. Remove the two cables. Put that over there. We're going to raise the table up. And come over here So now the area we're going to be focusing on is right here. I think I might pull that support bracket off just to give myself a little additional operating room, and I think maybe it'll give you all a clearer line of sight. 6mm internal hex fastener. I was playing around with that Yosh airbox a little bit earlier today too. We're prepping that video, and that is going to be a little bit of a project. Okay, and there is our throttle body cam right there. 10mm on my Motion Pro 1/4" drive spinner 2 T-handle. Pull the nut off. Got a lock washer here. Rock this thing back and forth a little bit. Off it comes. And that cable's out. The spring come around. Like so. Okay. Open this bad boy up so we're ready. So pretty clear. It installs like so. Go ahead and set that there. Grab that OEM spring, and let's go ahead and take a look at these two. I mean, you can very clearly see this one is much softer. We've done this modification on Max's Ninja 400s, and the lighter throttle pull is definitely a bonus. So let's slide this throttle spring on now. Get it up against that stop. There are 2 locator pins on this that line up with the cam, so you're going to want to be cognizant of that as we reinstall. Okay. Let's go ahead and slide that bad boy over. Kind of keep track of your throttle cables. You can run that one just kind of out of the way for a second. Now we need to, and there's no tension now on your throttle blades, okay? None. Like, you can just turn that by hand. You want to make sure they're counterclockwise and completely closed. Go ahead and get the cam. This is the arm that grabs the end of the spring. Engage that with your spring. And we need to rotate this around. Okay, and here's our stopper up top. My middle finger was on that. It is possible the throttle blades end up turning a little bit. Okay, now reach back in there. I've got my index finger back there, rotating that plastic sleeve until those locator pins are lined up with the holes on our throttle cam. From here, take your lock washer, slide that over, get your nut back on. Notice I'm still holding a little pressure against that throttle cam. I do not have a torque spec for this, but I can tell you it's not a lot. Right there. While you have the cables off, probably not a bad idea. And I can already feel how much less this is than that OEM spring. You want to make sure this snaps closed, it's free of obstructions, right? The last thing you ever want to have on a motorcycle is a sticking throttle. Let's get our throttle cables threaded back in. Make sure they're in the groove on the throttle body cam, like so. Notice how I kind of pushed them back up in there. That portion is now complete. We're going to lower the table and we'll reassemble our throttle. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab our throttle tube, slide that over our clip-on tube. Let's get our throttle cables re-engaged here on the OEM throttle tube. Still waiting for the Motion Pro. I know they have a part number developed. I've been waiting for it to come in stock. I probably need to go take a look again and see if they've got that one released. My intention is to install that on this bike for sure. So get your throttle cables back on. Let's go ahead and grab half of your throttle tube. If you're using the OEM one, you do want to make sure the plastic washer is on the outside of the throttle housing. You don't get it lodged inside. Engage that with your throttle housing. My clip-ons are drilled for the OEM throttle housing. Make sure you engage with that hole. Come up here. Let's get the other half lined up. Like so. Put a little pressure on it, make sure we have the locator pin in the hole that we drilled in a previous install in our clip-on. We'll tighten these up. Then we'll slide the boot back over the cables. Like so. Okay, now, oh wow. That is a very significant difference from stock. The free play is pretty much where it was at. You know, that's something I haven't adjusted yet on this bike. You know, you could come in here. These are the OEM cables. Got a couple of wrenches over here on the other side. A couple of 8s. If you want to tighten that up a little bit, now is not a bad time. That feels a little better. Snug these up. Make sure you slide the boots back over. If you're using your OEM throttle like we are on our project bike, because we haven't found our way to a quick turn just yet. but we will get there. This one doesn't get ridden that much because this is the one that I'm riding right now. That is what happens when you take your kid racing. All of a sudden, all you're doing is working on their bike and wishing you still got out and rode. There we go. I'll make sure that's good and tight so it's not going to rotate on us. When we come back, we'll have the bodywork back on the bike and we'll wrap this up. Okay, bodywork's back on, everything's buttoned up. You probably already saw my reaction when I turned the throttle and I'm like, yes, it's a lot easier pull. Why did I do this? Well, I did this because I'm the one who rides this bike. My hands are shot from all the years of being a technician at a Cadillac dealer before I started this business. A lot of air tools and shit, just wrenching. My hands are shot. They go to sleep way too easy now. That's going to help that a little bit. And at the end of the day, right, the more laps you turn, the harder that thing is to twist, the more tired your hands are going to get. It just makes it easier to ride the bike fast. This is more of a track modification than it ever would be a street one. For that reason, we're not going to do a tool breakdown on this. The one thing I do want to stress, okay, this is your throttle. Under no circumstances can this ever stick, ever. If anything you see here you're not comfortable with, don't tackle this project. Take it to a licensed professional, let them do it. Because literally your life is in your hands. Imagine going into a corner and it won't shut down. It's still pinned. That's a big problem. With that being said, if you're savvy working on your bike and when you see this part, you have the nerve to even order it, odds are, if you take your time and follow these steps, right, you're gonna be able to get it done. Unless you're uncomfortable, then you should take it to a licensed professional. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments section of this video. I answer all that stuff myself. I'm always here to make sure you get the same result from your project we did ours.